All right, make sure you put this on your cheat sheet, and that's going to help you do number 5 on your stuff. So number 5 is going to be let's see if I can put this in right. Because, of course, if you don't put it in right, it's going to not give you the same answer. So distance equals the square root of, looks to me like on number 5, the second x is -4. And the first x is 8. And the y's would be 4 minus 7. Okay, this is the minimum amount of work that you can show in the test. And I'm going to repeat this. If you don't write this on the test, you don't get credit for the problem. Okay? And the reason why I want you to show me this, what are you going to do with this? One, you can put the whole thing in the calculator and get the answer, right? And so you're showing me what you're doing. You're punching this in the calculator. Okay? You can show more work, depends on what your calculator does. I don't like putting this in the calculator because I tend to make little mistakes and it's hard to tell what mistake I made. So I like to do each little piece. So I like to do this. This is going to be -12 squared. Remember to leave the parentheses if you do that. This is going to be a -3 squared. All square rooted. This is going to be 144 plus 9. This is going to be 153. And then what I recommend, if you don't have a calculator that simplifies, just leave it 153 like this, and when somebody gets done with a calculator that can simplify it, just do it at the very end. The nice thing about the next chapter we're not going to have to rely on simplifying radicals. Okay? Okay. So the final answer is 317. Questions on what I did? Are any of the other ones any harder? Okay, but here's the key, and here's where a lot of people are going to mess up tomorrow. And I hope not, because I'm pointing this out. Which formula am I going to use? How about on number 9 down here? Which formula am I going to use? Okay, the problems look the same though, don't they? Okay, so I'm going to do number 9. And I put the midpoint ones on here just to have something that is pretty easy. Some of this stuff is kind of annoying, but some of it is can be pretty easy. And if I can get the pretty easy ones right, then, well, I don't have to get that many right to pass, really. Okay, here we go. We probably need to put this formula in your cheat sheet. Midpoint formula. I'll put a little m there so you know that that's for midpoint. Is going to equal x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Comma. y1 plus y2 divided by 2. That's it. So 9. Let's get this done. -10 plus -3 divided by 2. I'll do the other one too here. 7 plus -4 divided by 2. This is going to be, this is the minimum amount of work you need to do, right here. Because you can put this in the calculator, right? So make sure you do this, because then I can look and see that you set up the problem right. This is going to end up being -13 divided by 2, which is going to be 6.5 negative, right? Still negative. This, can I write 6 1/2? You can, but I usually just do decimal because it's easier. 7 plus -4 is 3 divided by 2, so that is going to be 1.5. Check me and make sure I'm right. And all you have to do in the calculator, and this works on any calculator, -10 plus -3 divided by 2. Okay. All right, there's that set. Starting here, and honestly, we've gone through these, and I can do these manually, or I can do these. I can do these also with a calculator. It's not a big deal. There's not a big work requirement on these. So remember, when you're adding or subtracting, you can only add or subtract like radicals here. And so basically this ends up being 3 minus 2. 3 minus 2 is 1, radical 2. We don't do anything with the radical on this. We just add the coefficients or the numbers in front. And probably this is not the best answer. Probably the best answer is, does that make sense? Okay, that's adding and subtracting. Down here, you probably do have to simplify the radicals before you add and subtract. Okay, I'm going to keep the numbers lower here so they're easier to do manually if you need to. Multiplication. And I got distributive properties on here, and that's what it's going to be. Okay, so remember, outside times outside. So that would be 5 times 1. Inside times inside. Outside times outside. Inside, well, there is no inside. So basically, if there's no inside, it's just a 1. So I do this. Okay, is that my final answer? It is not. I do have to simplify this guy. So to get full credit, you got to simplify that guy. And radical 20 is easy. And even on your cheat sheet, if you wanted to, you could put some of these easier ones, like radical 20, down there. Radical 20, you can divide by 4 and 5. Okay. That means that's 2 radical 5. So I change that to 2 radical 5, right? So that means that's 5 times 2 radical 5. So my final answer here would be 10 radical 5 plus 20 radical 10. All right. Division. Remember, I changed your division problems. This is what it should be on your sheet, but I gave you the sheet with these, so we don't care about this. How do I do division? Well, you can just put it in the calculator, that's fine. If you need to do it manually, that's fine too. Basically, you do number divided by number. Well, I don't need to do 3 divided by 1. You do radical divided by radical. Well, 4/5, or 4 divided by 5 is not going to balance out, and so basically I just need to kind of get rid of this number here, and the way to do it manually is you do this, and that is going to equal 3 radical 20. Radical 5 times radical 5 means it's radical 25 or just 5. And can you simplify this? We just went over 20, didn't we? So you can simplify this, and so your final answer here is going to be 6 radical 5 over 5. Okay? And we will have answers to all of these before you leave today, so you can have stuff to study. All right, I'm going to keep moving on. Okay, now we're at 25. That's just, we're actually going to have to show work on those. Those are just regular old algebra problems, but we do have the radicals. So I'm going to do 25. Okay. So 25 is negative 18. And this is why we have to have separate paper. Not for the calculator problems, but for the ones that you actually have to do some work. Okay. First thing to do is get everything away from the radical. So this guy right here, this means negative 3 times. And so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. And so I'm going to change that into positive 6 equals radical 3p plus 6. The way to get rid of the radical is to square both sides. 36 equals 3p plus 6 minus 6. Okay. Do we remember doing this? Yes? Okay. And we just went over these, right? I'm going to go over them again just for the video. And again, if you are working, you can just work at your own pace. If you don't need to see this, that's fine. If you're on your cell phone and you don't voluntarily put it on my desk, then probably there'll be consequences. All right, so this is how you do this. You can do it manually or you can do it with the table button. It honestly isn't too much effort to do it manually. The first thing we need to identify, and I would put this in your cheat sheet, is we need to identify where the starting point is. Okay? And it bugs me that they don't have everything here, so I'm going to add a plus 0 because I know there's supposed to be two numbers. And so remember what the vertex form is, or the form that I taught you, is like this. We're not going to have a value for A, but I have to put it because it's going to be there eventually, just not today. Then we're going to have inside here, we're going to have x minus h. And then we're going to have outside this plus k. And so your starting point is going to be h, k. Remember, this guy is basically opposite of what you think it's going to be. Okay, this guy is going to be regular. So back to the problem. I'm looking at here. I believe that HK, I believe that the starting point is going to be negative 3, 0. So that means my first thing should be x3 and y0. We can test that out to make sure that I'm right. I'm going to do it manually first, and then I'll show you the table again. So to manually do this, I'm just going to square root. First point would be negative 3. Negative 3 plus 3 plus 0. I hit enter, and hopefully I get 0. Okay, that's my first point, yes? Okay, I'm going to use the table button. I'm going to type the thing in, x plus 3. I'm not going to type in the plus 0 because that's just extra work, but you can. Enter. That doesn't matter. Let's find the errors. Let's find my first point that I thought it was. My first point is negative 3, so I'm going to go to negative 3. Okay, it is negative 3, 0. Okay, good. If we have errors above my first point, that means I find my first point right. So basically I want the points that are easy to graph. So negative 3, 0, negative 2, 1. And I'm going to skip all this junk. There's 1, 2. And just because I want it to look better, I'm going to see if there's any more that fit. 6, 3. Okay, you at least have to do 3 of these to let me know that you're doing things right. All right, so I'm going to graph it up. -3, 0. -2, 1. 1, 2. 6, 3. And I'm just going to do this. Okay, make sure your line starts here. I don't want to see any line down here, or it's wrong. All right, it says domain and range. Domain, x is greater than or equal to that starting point, right? Starts at -3. Range, y is greater than or equal to, starts here and goes up, so that would be 0. I'm done. Any questions? Alrighty, let's try to get done with this, and then we'll be good. I guess I should have put this first question on the video. I just didn't. I'll just do it again. I'm recording, and then I'll be with you in a second.